So the tip I'd like to talk about now would be how to properly use the Perfect-It 1 finishing material. Really, the first tip would be to make sure that you sand properly. Again, we'll be skipping compounding using this process, so we need to make sure the surface is properly sanded. That means thorough 1500, thorough 3000, and thorough 5000 in order to get that sand scratch small enough where the system will work properly. So really, sanding is critical. 3000 grit, 5000 grit, make sure it's used long enough so we don't have any deep 1500 scratches. So now that we're done sanding properly, we're going to use the Perfect-It 1 finishing material to remove that 5000 grit sand scratch. This is a system. We have the Perfect-It 1 finishing material along with its appropriate pad. Like all 3M products, we have the color of the liquid and the color of the cap matching the color of the pad. It is a system, so we need to use the correct liquid and the correct pad for optimal performance. After that, it's really simple polishing. Polishing is quite simple, but some general tips in polishing are, I always like to use 1200 to 1800 RPM. Faster RPM generates more heat, causes more sling, and you can actually burn the paint. So I like 1200 to 1800. That's really the best window for polishing. Another tip in polishing is to hold the pad as flat as possible. Steep angles generate maybe a little more cut, but it also puts in a much deeper swirl. With this system, we get a nearly swirl-free finish, so we want to make sure that we don't put that deep swirl in so we don't struggle getting it out later. Another tip would be to use the correct amount of pressure with the buffer. I like to use just enough pressure to collapse the egg crates on our convoluted pad. If you push down too hard, you could buckle the panel. If you don't push down hard enough, it doesn't cut effectively. So I personally like to use medium pressure first, push down on the convolutes so they're collapsed, and then light pressure to get the best finish. That combination really optimizes the system's performance. Another tip would be to make sure you use enough material. As soon as the product dries out, if you still have more work to do, you need to add more. If you're buffing with a dry pad, you're really not getting any work done. So it's really important when it dries out, inspect. If it still looks like it needs more work, add a little more and keep going. So another tip with this process is to make sure that you buff long enough. Because a 5000 grit scratch is so fine, your first few passes, it may look like it's not there anymore. I always recommend to buff until you think you're done, add a little more polish, and go over it one more time quickly. That will really ensure that you haven't had any sand scratches that are hidden in the gloss. They can be hard to see, shop lighting might be dim, and that will ensure that your work won't come back. All right, when we think we're done buffing, it's critical to inspect the surface. We do that using 3M inspection spray. Simply spray it on the panel, wipe it off, and then we'll use a sun gun to inspect the surface. That'll ensure that there's no sand scratches that are hidden in the gloss and reveal the true finish that we have.